The entire world economy is now stopped dead, like completely stopped dead. All because China would not shut down the practice of people eating frickin' bats at the local markets. This has been a problem for decades. Okay, this is nothing new.
Okay, so Ben Shapiro starts off by saying that it's the fault of the Chinese administration, which it is, but you can't just fully explain that away, right? Because you need to talk about what's going on in the Trump administration. Like, if a Democrat did the same thing, everyone, including the Democrats, would be calling for his head because they'd be right. As in, you don't do shit like this. Like, you know what Trump did, right? He cut funding to the CDC, he fired the pandemic response team. Maybe that wasn't a good idea. Refusing WHO tests and calling it a democratic hoax. Maybe these things aren't a good idea.
Going all the way back to the 1950s, there was an Asian flu. It was literally called the Asian flu, an Asian flu outbreak in the late 1950s, and it came from these animal markets. The Chinese government is an authoritarian government. At the very least, they should be outlawing these markets. They should be prosecuting people who are selling exotic animals for people to eat. And this is and by the way, that's not cultural racism in any way. Don't eat the frickin' bats, you idiots.
Okay, so he says that he's not going to be culturally racist, and then he starts doing just that. So it's not like the Chinese people have a different culture or something. I mean, they do have a different culture, but it's not like they're all eating bats or anything. It's just that the top 1% is engaging in these types of things, right? So it's part of the bougie culture. So now, if I were to go to America or in some place in Manhattan or something, I don't know, and then I saw people eating caviar, I wouldn't say that that's American culture, right? Because that's just bougie culture. Similarly, eating bats is just something that the wealthy Chinese do. It's not like it's a cultural thing.
I mean, seriously, how many lives would have been saved if the Chinese government had spent 1 ounce of its authoritarianism cracking down on perfectly illegal activity or activity that ought to be illegal, like eating the local wildlife? I mean, this is insane. The Trump administration, the rest of the world should be on board for this too, honestly. Like, can we all afford to do this once every 4 or 5 years? Because that's the future. The future is that once every 4 or 5 years, once every 10 years, there will be another virus emanating from China, which has yet to shut down this stuff, and then has covered it up in authoritarian fashion, and they unleash it on an unsuspecting global community. And then all of the people in the media go, oh, it's so racist, it's so ethnically unpalatable.
Okay, so he starts off by fear-mongering towards his audience, right? He says it's going to happen every 5 years, every 10 years, and that's just based on his feelings, right? And the only reason he would do something like that is to get everyone worked up. And you know what happens when they get worked up, right? They start holding racist views, they start punching people. It's crazy. And then he has the audacity to say that what he's doing is not racist. I'll get into why it's racist in just a moment.
To say this is the Chinese virus. It has nothing to do with the skin color of the people or the location or the ethnicity of the people who are saying this stuff. It has to do with the Chinese communist authoritarian government, which has now unleashed for the 1 millionth time a virus on the rest of the world because they will not shut down what is obviously disgusting activity. I'm sorry, it is disgusting to eat a civet.
First off, you can be racist without targeting someone's skin color or where they're from. If you target someone based on where they're from, that's called xenophobia, not racism. I mean, doesn't this guy have a PhD in this at this point? So Ben, can I call you Ben? I feel like I can call you Ben. Ben, I think that you're being racist when you say that all Chinese people, or at least a vast majority of them, engage in practices that you consider gross, right? So it has nothing to do with you attacking the Chinese government. I'm attacking the Chinese government because I think that what they've done is really shitty. They should have banned the wet markets. They shouldn't let the lobbying power control them. It's corruption at its finest, right? I'm attacking it. I'm not racist, but I can still call you one because you're being racist against the people.
Okay, it's gross. Beyond being gross. I don't care. You can do whatever is gross to your liking. Okay, I'm a libertarian on this stuff, except if there are externalities. And it turns out you eating a pangolin has some pretty significant externalities. You think we're going to lose $10 trillion in this economy because of this routine? Seriously. there better be some consequences to the Chinese government after all of it.
Okay, first off, that's not how the stock market works. So let's say that Apple is worth $1 trillion. It doesn't actually mean that its worth is based solely on its intrinsic value. A lot of the worth of the companies is based on speculation. So if someone has a lot of shares of Apple and doesn't sell it, and there are other people who want to buy it, now what will happen is these guys will keep on increasing their bid for the shares of the company. And now it's not like the company has done anything in the short run that justifies its increase in price. It's mostly based on speculation. Now you can also look at the underlying problems in the stock market, because it was artificially increased due to the stock buybacks and the Trump tax cuts. So it's not like the coronavirus has actually made the stock market lose these trillions of dollars, right? Because when it starts recovering, it will just go back to its normal levels. So I think it's a pretty illogical thing to say that the coronavirus has cost the economy that many $1 trillion when it's actually the hedge fund managers and the retail sellers that are short selling the market, which is causing this massive sell off, and they're basically getting liquidated because they had high leverages and they were buying stocks that they couldn't actually afford to keep. So now what this actually does is that it creates an artificially low price when everyone starts short selling, right? Because we will eventually hit a bottom, and when we hit that bottom and people start buying stocks again, they just keep on going like 10% up, 20% up, like every day, or like in phases. And what will happen is that market makers will start getting liquidated, like the short sell position will start getting liquidated, and the market just moves up rapidly. So that's a pretty disingenuous claim to make, that it's cost us this much or whatever. And another thing to note is that, like, if you want to buy stocks right now is a pretty good time. I mean, it's gonna go down more maybe because of the coronavirus, but again, it's a good time to start buying. I'd just buy like Goldman Sachs or whatever, because it's like a pretty good rate. All right, see you guys next time.